Hello all, welcome back to Coder. Today let us solve the LeetCode's daily challenge. The problem is data stream as disjoint intervals. Given a data stream input of non-negative integers a1 to an, summarize the numbers seen so far as a list of disjoint intervals. Implement the summary ranges class. So summary ranges is initializes the object with an empty stream, and this add number is going to add the integer value to the stream, and the get intervals vector it is going to return a vector ranges that are with the start I and end I, so with the disjoint intervals. So let us see the example one so that we'll get an understanding. So in example one, these are the input and these are the output. Let us see how the output comes for by the explanation. So this summary ranges, first an object is declared with the summary ranges, and then to the stream one is added, so one is added to the stream. And now the get intervals function is called. When the get intervals method is called, it is going to return a vector of vectors with disjoint intervals. Since one is the only the data in the data stream, so we will return a 1 comma 1 as our disjoint intervals. So let us say the other in the next case, the 3 is going to inserted into our data stream. So when the 3 is inserted into the data stream, it is the and then the get intervals function is called. So when the get intervals method is called, the output is going to be 1 comma 1. Then because because there is no 2 inside the data stream, so we want to have 1 comma 1 as one interval, and then 3 comma 3 as the other interval, and these are the output that we get when our state is having 1 and 3. So let us insert next 7. Once the 7 is inserted into a data stream and the get intervals method is called, the output that we get is 1 comma 1, 3 comma 3 and 7 comma 7. Because these are all disjoint, we are getting the intervals as this. Now let us see the next number that is added into the data stream is nothing but 2. When the 2 is inserted, obviously it is you can see that 1 to 3 is going to be one interval. So we can just say 1 comma 3 as one interval, and 4, there is no 4, there is no 5, there is no 6, and there is a 7. So 7 comma 7 forms another interval. So this is one set of interval, and this 7 is going to be another set of intervals. So the disjoint intervals are nothing but 1 comma 3 and 7 comma 7, and that is the output after this particular state. And now let us add the 6 into our data stream. When 6 is going to be added into our data stream, so what is going to be our output for the get intervals method? So the output is going to be 1 comma 3 because this forms a set of intervals, and 6 and 7 is going to form another interval that is going to be 6 comma 7. Let us assume we are going to add a 4 here. If we add 4, the total disjoint set becomes 1 comma 4 and 6 comma 7. So this is going to be the output. And if we add add a 5 to our data stream, when we call the get intervals method, our output is going to return 1 comma 7. So hope you get my point. So we want to insert a value into a data stream, and we want to get the intervals, disjoint intervals, as our output when the get intervals method is called. So how can we do this? Whenever we are going to insert we can use a vector to store the values that are getting added. But if we add into our vector, and we want to each time sort that vector, and we want to find the disjoint intervals. For to find the disjoint intervals, it is very easy. We can just traverse, and if it is going to be in sorted order, we can just have the start and end point, and we can just push it into our resultant vector. And if there is a disjoint, that is if there is any intermediate number is missing, like let's say 9 10, there is a 8, there is no 8 present in this data stream, so 9 comma 10 forms another interval. So we can form this disjoint intervals easily by traversing our input, but each time we are going to sort the vector. It is going to be time consuming. If we do that n log n, it becomes an n log n. So how can we optimize this n log n time? We can do it by using a set, because set obviously has a sorted data values, because it is implemented in a tree fashion. So it is going, the insertion is going to take time complexity of logN, and deletion is also going to be a logN. And while we don't want to spend our time in sorting the vector, because the set contains the data in sorted fashion. So it is very simple. By using a set we can just code it now. So let us have a set of integer st, or I will name it as ranges. So let us clear the ranges inside our constructor. It is going, and what is this add number does, it is going to add a value into our ranges. So ranges dot pushback of value. And what is this get intervals function is going to do, it is going to return a vector of vectors. So what we can do is, we can first have a vector of vector resultant, and at the end of the day we are going to return res. And what if our ranges is empty and the get intervals function is called? If our ranges is empty, we want to return a empty vector. So that can be a possible edge case. Ranges dot empty, if it is ranges, if the ranges is empty, then we can just return an empty vector. Else what we want to do is, we want to return a resultant with the disjoint intervals. So how can we form the disjoint intervals? Actually we can form it by using variables, by saying to be start and end. So I will just give a dry run 1 2 3 4, and let us have a 7 8, and let us have a 10. Yeah, let us have like this. And how we are going to form the disjoint set of intervals using this data stream. So how can we do is, we can have a start and a end variable to be initially -1, start and end to be initially -1. And if my start is going to be less than 0, we can initialize start and end to be the value. We can iterate over the set auto. Let us auto it in our set. Set is nothing but the ranges. What we can do is, we can have these set of cases. If my start is lesser than 0, my start and end becomes the current value it. Else if the start, else if my end is going to be equal to it minus 1, or let us say like this, n plus 1 is equal to the current value. That is nothing but, in our first iteration the start and end becomes 1, and the next value is going to be 2 in our set. So the end is currently 1, so end plus 1, which is 2, it is equal to the current value 2. If it is so, my end is going to be changed to this it value itself. And what is the other case? If these two cases does not occur, then obviously there is a disjoint set of intervals. I will just show. My end becomes 2, then my end becomes 3, and my end becomes 4. And when the it is 7, my end plus 1, it is going to be 5. It is not equal to this it. That is nothing but 7. 5 is not equal to 7. So it falls under the else part. Whenever we comes to the else part, we are going to have it in our resultant, res dot pushback. Let us add it to our result, our start and end. And once we have added into our resultant, we are going to change our start and end, because start and end becomes the current value it. My it becomes 7. My next set of intervals is going to start from this 7 only. So start and end becomes this it. And this for loop will take care of getting the disjoint intervals. And this is how we are going to write our logic in our get intervals function. So what we can say is, we can have this resultant to be the intervals. So actually we are having the intervals only, right? So that is why we can have this like this. And we need a two variables, start to be -1 and end to be -1. Now what we can do is, for auto value in my ranges, what I'm going to do is, I'm checking for the first case. If my start is going to be lesser than 0, then my start and end becomes the current value. Else if my end plus 1 is equals to the current value, then it is a same set of intervals, so my end becomes the current value. Else this is going to be a disjoint interval. Current value is not equal to the previous plus 1 value. So what we can just do is we can insert into our resultant nothing but the intervals vector start comma end, and we also want to reinitialize start and end to be the current value. Once we come out of the slope, our start and end will be at the last particular interval. We are not inserting into our interval, so we want to insert them after the for loop as well. So that is why I have added this case here also. So now let us try to run our code. Ranges dot pushback, sorry, it is going to be a insert. It is going to be an insert in our set, right? So that is why. So now let us submit the code as well. So the time complexity for this solution will be, for addNum it is going to be logN. We are going to insert, great, it gets accepted. So for inserting an element into our set, it is going to be a logN operation. So addNum is going to be a logN, and getIntervals function is going to be an order of n. So hope you like the solution and let me know in the comments if there are any suggestions. Let us see in tomorrow's LeetCode daily challenge. Until then, bye.